And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome aboard. I'm meteorologist Peter Chan with your Alaska Marine Weather Outlook on this Saturday, May 24th, 2025. And this outlook is for Sunday and Memorial Day Monday. We start out with the state of the sea ice, and the ice continues to rapidly melt here across areas of the northern Bering. We still have some ice remnant along areas of Norton Sound and especially south of St. Lawrence Island. But again, that melt-off will just continue as we head into the summer season, though overall temperatures have averaged a bit below normal across much of the state. Looking at the synoptic map here for late tonight into early Sunday morning, we have this low pressure kind of just outside of the Gulf. It does have a frontal trough that's keeping showers, especially across the Panhandle, northeastern Gulf through Yakutat. And then back to the west, we have a few areas of low pressure, a couple of lows in the Bering, and this one that's south of the Alaska Peninsula. This low pressure energy is heading east-southeastward. And it will eventually force up another low out of the North Pacific that'll pull up toward the Gulf as we go into early next week. And there'll be a couple of waves of moderate to heavy rain and gale or near gale force winds coming up across the Panhandle, especially as we go through Monday night, Tuesday, and into Wednesday. So this unsettled pattern will continue. And not only for areas along the Gulf Coast and Panhandle, but also for the interior, we have this thermal trough that'll just keep the threat of scattered showers and thunderstorms developing in the afternoon and evening hours as we go through Sunday and Monday. But here comes Sunday afternoon, the low is just kind of a weekend here with showers still a possibility along the Gulf Coast and into the Panhandle. This energy, though, is translating off toward the east-southeast. And then here comes Monday afternoon, here comes a low pressure that out of the North Pacific. This front has more wind energy and heavier rain with its southerly flow, ample moisture. So that means moderate to locally heavy rainfall across the Panhandle, especially southern outer coast as we go through Monday night, Tuesday, and into Wednesday, because there's going to be yet another wave come on up later Tuesday and into Wednesday to keep things going. In the far north, the Arctic coast, Beaufort Sea coast being clipped by a trough that could have a few light snow showers with it, but certainly some lower ceilings up along that area as well, and a bit of fog. But for the inner channels on Sunday, southeast winds 15 knots. That would be Lynn Canal, Stevens Passage, waves a couple of feet, but Dixon Entrance down here outside of Metlakatla, southeast to 25 knots, waves 6-7 feet. The outer coast, south-southeast winds, Sitka to off of Craig, 20 knots, swells 8-9 feet. Outside here of Gustavus and off of, we're looking at 20-knot easterly winds with gust to 35 knots there across Cove, and then up outside of Yakutat, easterly winds 15 knots up all the way to Cape Suckling. And then notice the winds increasing Monday ahead of that approaching low in front. Southeast winds to 30 knots, lower Panhandle, inner channels, and outer coast, Sitka southwards. And so we have inner channel waves 3-4 feet, but as high as 10-11 feet, Dixon Entrance, and then out along the outer coast there off of Sitka. And then as we go further north, easterly winds out of Yakutat Bay, 25 gusts, maybe as high as 35 knots. For the northwestern Gulf, Sunday, southeast winds 15 knots, Prince William Sound, waves a couple of feet. East winds outside of Hinchinbrook Entrance, 15 to 20 knots. And then for the lower portion of Cook Inlet, Kennedy Entrance, east winds 25 knots, waves 5-6 feet. Otherwise, as we get around Anchor Point, south-southwest winds 10 to 15 knots, waves 2 to 3 feet. For Memorial Day, Prince William Sound, easterly winds to 10 knots, waves a couple of feet. Easterly winds 20 to 25 knots there outside of Hinchinbrook Entrance. For middle upper Cook Inlet, variable to northeast winds 10 knots, but again, areas of lower Cook Inlet, Kamishak Bay, look for easterly winds of 15 knots and waves 3 feet. For Sunday, Kodiak Island will see southwest winds 15 knots within Shelikof Strait, onshore southeast winds on the east side of the island, including Kodiak City. Southeast winds 10 to 15 knots, Bristol Bay and east of Chignik. Otherwise, turning back around to the west, especially trailing out toward Cold Bay and Falls Pass. And for Monday, winds are going to be more northeasterly, 20-25 knots, Shelikof Strait and off of Chicknick, as well as Bristol Bay. Those winds turn more northerly across the lower half of the peninsula at 20 knots, waves 4 to 6 feet. The eastern Aleutians westward we're going to expect generally west winds across the Aleutians on Sunday. 20 knots around Dutch Harbor on Alaska, 25 to maybe near 30 knots from Nikolsky to Adak. And then once you get west of Adak, look for west-northwest winds 30 to as high as 35 knots, Kiska to Shemya. For Monday, winds will be more northerly in the eastern Aleutians at 20 knots, turning northwesterly, especially west of Nikolsky through Atka and Adak at 25 knots, and then winds kind of twist around Kiska to Shemya at 20 knots. Along the southwest coast for Sunday, Bristol Bay, southeast winds 10 knots, waves 2 feet. Within Kuskokwim Bay, southeast winds 15 knots, waves 3 feet. Winds variable around 10 knots, the Pribilovs, but stronger winds out of Norton Sound, 25 knots out of the northeast. Northeast winds 15 knots along the lower Yukon coast and picking back up to 25 knots with waves up to 10, 11 feet there at St. Matthew. Then on Monday, winds will be northerly out of Bristol Bay and through the Pribilovs at 15 knots. Look for northwest winds to 25 knots there within Kuskokwim Bay. And then as we go up along the Yukon coast to Norton Sound, winds will be out of the north 10 to 15 knots, waves 2 to 3 feet. Through the Bering Strait and on the north side of St. Lawrence Island on Sunday, winds will generally be northerly, 20 to as high as 25 knots there at Gamble. Waves 4 to 8 feet where there is open water. As we go up along the northwest Chukchi Sea coast, winds generally out of the northwest at 10 knots. And then from Utqiagvik through Kaktovik, winds will be west-northwest, right around 10 knots on Sunday. For Monday, winds will be west-southwest, 10 to 15 knots, Kaktovik down through Wainwright. And once we get south of Point Hope, winds will be northwest to west into Kotzebue Sound across the lower Chukchi Sea at 10 knots with waves a couple of feet. And then as we go down along the west side of the Seward Peninsula, Wales, Port Clarence, and on over to the north side of St. Lawrence Island, look for winds on Monday to be out of the north at 10 to 15 knots.